And now shifting our focus to the mother of all deals, a historic movement. India and EU scripted history together after signing an FTA after nearly 2 decades of negotiations. India and the European Union have finally sealed what is being called the mother of all trade deals. Once implemented, likely by 2027, this deal will reshape what India's pay for global products and what Indian businesses can sell to Europe. President Momo met European Council President Antonio Costa and President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen at the Rashtrapati Bhavan last night. Apart from the European leaders also hailed this partnership, Finland's President Alexander Stubb called the EU-India Free Trade Agreement historic, noting that it is the largest trade deal ever concluded by either side. He said the agreement would further intensify economic and political ties with India. The German Foreign Minister Johann Waidful too hailed the EU-India FTA, calling it a strong sign of partnership and important boost for global trade. The minister said the agreement offers significant opportunities, including diversification, and noted that nearly 2 billion people would benefit from increased growth and prosperity. Announced at the India-EU summit in New Delhi in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and European leaders, this FTA marks a major reset in India-EU economic ties. Now let's break it down what gets cheaper for you and where India stands to gain big. Let's start with the hills that will impact the customers directly. First, what gets cheaper? European cars are set to become significantly cheaper. Import duties have been slashed from a massive 110% down to just 10%. Though within a capped quota of 2.5 lakh vehicles, a safeguard meant to protect Indian manufacturers like Tata Motors and Mahindra. Alcohol and beverages also see major relief. Imported spirits will now attract a duty of 40%, down from 150%. Beer duties are halved from 110% to 50%, and non-alcoholic beer becomes completely duty-free, a move that will be felt most in metros, hotels and restaurants. European food products are another big winner. Tariffs on items like olive oil, pasta, chocolates, juices and processed foods dropped from 45 to 55% straight down to zero, bringing down prices of imported kitchen staples. Fruits and meat products also see sharp cuts. Duties on kiwis and pears fall from 33% to 10%. Mutton becomes duty-free while sausages and prepared meat see tariff halve. That said, dairy and sensitive farm products remain excluded to protect Indian farmers, a red line that India has maintained with all the countries that it has signed FTAs with. Now, next up is medical equipment and the likes, in a move that could significantly reduce costs for healthcare and infrastructure. Medical, electrical and industrial equipment, including aircraft and spacecraft parts, will now be duty-free with tariffs of up to 44% cut to zero. Now to the other side of the India. India's a big export push. What India stands to gain from this? Indian textiles, apparel and footwear get zero duty access to EU markets, eliminating tariffs of up to 17%. This sharply improves India's competitiveness against rivals like Bangladesh and Vietnam. Marine products, chemicals and consumer goods will also benefit. EU duties ranging from 10.5% to 26% are completely removed, opening doors to higher exports and stronger demand. Gems, jewelries, toys and sports goods gain an edge too. Though EU tariffs here were already low, removing duties of up to 4.7% improves margins for Indian exporters. And finally, heavy industry and transport products, including base metals, rail products and ships will now enter Europe duty-free, unlocking opportunities in the EU's infrastructure and transport sectors. The message from the deal is clear. For Indian consumers, quite a few global products will get cheaper. For Indian exporters, Europe just became a far more accessible market. What remains carefully protected are India's farm and dairy sectors, a reminder that even the biggest trade reset comes with calibrated guardrails.
India exports about $7 billion worth of textiles and garments to the US, to the EU every year. And the duty rates are between anywhere up to 12% on the goods that we export to EU. Now, earlier in the day, you used to always ask us, the press used to always ask us, that why is Bangladesh able to export $30 billion worth of textiles and India is such a small player? Because Bangladesh, being a least developed country, LDC, had zero duty access. And they were able to capture $30 billion out of the $250 billion market of European Union in textiles alone. Now we see before our eyes a potential to grow from 7 billion to at least 30, 35, 40 billion very quickly, being an area of strength in India. And you can imagine that if we add this kind of business only in the textile sector alone, just only in the textile sector alone, we are looking at close to 6 or 7 million jobs coming into that sector. So it has tremendous potential. The sectoral gains in various areas, particularly in the labor-intensive areas, give us tremendous potential for job creation in India.
Yeah, welcome the free trade agreement, and this was long pending for 20 years. For 2 decades, India and European Union had been discussing for a trade deal like this, and that finally it has found closure is good for our nations, for European Union nations as well as for us. Also, at the same time, it also establishes that when we have convergences over democracy, world trade, global trade order, as well as international rules-based order, then there's a lot that can be achieved. So this trade agreement would be an indicator of that. And I would just hope that this would benefit both nations and their populations.
ये अच्छा है, ये अच्छा कदम है और हमको लगता है कि भारत की अर्थनीति को इसका लाभ मिलना चाहिए और जितना हम अपने जो हमारा ट्रेड है उसको जितना विस्तार करें उतना अच्छा है और जब अमेरिका के जिस प्रकार से जो रवैया है उसको देखते हुए हमको दूसरे बाजार की तलाश तो करनी पड़ेगी.
India and the European Union have finalised a landmark trade deal. The move seeks to hedge against unpredictable ties with the US and is expected to double EU exports to India by 2032. European Council President Antonio Costa.
I'm the President of the European Council, but I'm also an overseas Indian citizen. Then, as you can imagine, for me, it has a special meaning. At a time when the global order is being fundamentally reshaped, the European Union and India stand together as a strategic and reliable partners. Today, we are taking our partnership to the next level.
The EU said it will eliminate or reduce tariffs on 96.6% of traded goods by value and will lead to savings of $4.75 billion in duties. In return, the EU will cut tariffs on 99.5% of goods traded over 7 years, with tariffs to be cut to zero on Indian marine goods, leather and textile products, as well as chemicals, rubber, base metals and gems and jewellery. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the deal is the largest ever free trade agreement in India's history.
The FTA will boost investment between India and the European Union. It will help forge new innovation partnerships and will strengthen supply chains at a global level.
According to an EU statement, New Delhi will slash tariffs on cars to 10% over 5 years, from as high as 110%. That will benefit European automakers such as VW, Renault, Mercedes-Benz and BMW. Officials said they expect the deal to be implemented within a year. The agreement comes days after the EU signed a pivotal pact with the South American bloc Mercosur. and follows deals last year with Indonesia, Mexico and Switzerland. The rush of deals underscores global efforts to hedge against trade with the US. President Trump's bid to take over Greenland and tariff threats on European nations has tested long-standing alliances among Western nations.